A jobless life is not the end of life. Always remember this. Living a jobless life is not the end of life. It is, in fact, the start of the real life. The storms, the winds, the rough weather, the pains that you experience in a jobless life transforms you into a much stronger person, a more insightful person. Those rare insights, those insightful lessons, those unique experiences that you get to experience in a jobless life add immense value to the quality of your life and to your overall perspective. A jobless life is an indication that God wants you to sit back, introspect, and work on your consciousness. It is an indication that God loves you. God is giving you a very rare opportunity to pause, recharge, and reform. How many people get this kind of rare opportunity? Most of the workforce across the globe is simply slogging every day. They just don't have enough time to introspect, to refresh, to reform. But a jobless life brings you that rare opportunity. Perspective matters. How you look at your life matters the most, and not how others look at your life. Living a jobless life is not the end of life, but living a faithless life certainly is. Raghav Kumar, a 82 years old man and a founder of a reputed multinational company, was on his bed counting the last few days of his life. And someone asked him, "Sir, who was your mentor, your master?" He said, "It is too late to ask. Time is short and I am dying." But the inquirer insisted and said, "You can simply say the name. You are still alive. You are still breathing and talking. You can simply tell me the name." Raghav Kumar said, "It will be difficult because I had thousands of masters. If I just relate their names, it will take months and years. It is too late. But I will certainly tell you about my 3 masters. Long back, when I was jobless, I went to a small village where I lost my way. And it was there where I met my first master, a thief. Yes, he was a thief. It was a dark night, shops were closed, everything was closed. There was not a single human being on the road. I searched for somebody to inquire about the way. I found one man who was trying to make a hole in the wall of a house. I asked him where I could stay, and he said, "I am a thief." And the thief said, "Right now it will be very difficult to find a place to stay, but you can come to my home. You can stay with me if you can stay with a thief." I hesitated a little bit. Then I thought that if the thief is not afraid of me, then why should I be afraid of a thief? Anyhow, I had no treasures to fear for. I was simply a jobless man. In fact, he should be afraid of me. So I said, "Yes, I will come." And I went. And I went and I stayed with the thief, and the man was so lovely, so beautiful. I stayed for 1 month. And each night he would say to me, "Now I am going to my work. You rest, you pray, you do your work." And when he would come back, I would ask, "Could you get anything?" He would reply, "Not tonight, but tomorrow I will try again." And he was never in a state of hopelessness. Never. For 1 month continuously, he came back empty handed, but he was always happy. And he said, "I will try tomorrow again. God willing, tomorrow it is going to happen. And you also pray for me. At least you can say to God, 'Help this poor man.'" And then I remembered when I was applying for a job and trying for days and months to get a job, nothing was happening. And many a times the moment came when I was so desperate, so hopeless that I thought of giving up. I felt that there was no God and all my prayer was useless. And then suddenly I would remember the thief who would say every night, "God willing, tomorrow it is going to happen." So I tried one day more. If the thief was so hopeful, I knew I had to try at least one more day. And many times I kept facing failures after failures. But the thief and the memory of him helped me wait one day more. And one day it happened. It did happen. I was offered a good job in a reputed company. I was thousands of miles away from the thief and his house, but I bowed down in his direction. He was my first master. I worked in that company for 10 years. And then I met my second master. He was a dog. It happened so that I was thirsty and I was going towards the river when a dog came by. He was also thirsty. He looked into the river and saw another dog there, his own reflection, and got scared. He barked, and the other dog barked his reflection. He was so thirsty that despite his hesitation, he kept coming back to the river. He would come again and look into the water and find the dog there, that is his own reflection. But the thirst was so much that he suddenly jumped into the water and the image, the reflection, disappeared. He drank the water and swam in it. It was a hot summer. And I was watching. I knew that a message had come to me from God. One has to jump in spite of all fears. And that was the moment when I decided to quit my 10-year-old job. I decided to jump and take the risk of starting my own company. When I was on the verge of jumping into the unknown, the same fear was there. I would go to the very edge, hesitate, and come back. And then I would remember the dog. If the dog could manage, why not me? And then one day I jumped into the unknown. I started my own company. The dog was my second master. Today, the company that you see in existence is merely because of that dog. The inquirer smiled, but still curious, he asked, "And who was your third master?" Raghav said, "A boy." Yes, my third master was a young boy. It happened so that my company was now doing very well. I was almost in my 60s, and yet Somehow I was not satisfied. The bliss, the awakening was yet to come. My spiritual thirst was yet to be satisfied when one day I came across this boy whom I met in a temple. He must have been around 15 years old, and it was a Sunday, and I saw him carrying a oil lamp, hiding it in his hands and going to the temple to put it there. Jokingly, I asked the boy, "Have you lit the lamp yourself?" He said, "Yes, sir." And I asked, "Can you tell me from where the light came?" There was a moment when the lamp was unlit, and then there was a moment when the lamp was lit. Can you show me the source from which the light came? And since you have lit it, you must have seen the light coming. But from where? And the boy laughed, and he blew out the candle, the lamp, and said, "Now you have seen the light going. Where has it gone? You tell me." I had no answer. My ego was shattered, and my whole knowledge was shattered. And at that moment, I felt my own stupidity. Since then, I dropped all knowledgeability. I realized that to experience God and His immense love, I must restart my journey towards ground zero. Because it is only when you become zero, empty yourself of all that you had gathered throughout your life, that you will be able to create space for the divine knowledge that you seek in this journey of spiritual life. I learned that within the material world, your journey is towards "I know everything," but within the spiritual world, your journey is towards "I know nothing." Now I could understand why the great Socrates, during the very last moment of his life, said, "I know that I know nothing." Socrates was at least able to reach to that very first stage of ground zero. Yes, that boy was my third master. He was instrumental in bringing that rare awareness within me, after which I handed over all my belongings, my properties, and my company matters to my family and started my journey to unburden all the bookish knowledge, to unlearn all that I had learned so as to create space for the real thing, the divine truth. His eyes became wet, and the inquirer became speechless. So much to learn from this real life story. What more to ask? There was pin drop silence. And then with a smile, Raghav said, "And do you know the very turning point of this eventful life of mine? It was that point of my life when I was living a jobless life. It all started then." Beautiful. What an insightful journey of life that started with so many setbacks but eventually reached its highest peak. Behind every ending, there is a new beginning. And new beginnings are often disguised as painful endings. When jobless, the off time that you get is a rare opportunity to develop yourself 360 degrees. Ensure that you make the most out of this jobless life, because when you are at the rock bottom of your career, remember that this rock bottom can actually become a solid foundation on which you can rebuild a great career. There is always a tomorrow, always. meditate.